So also warm welcome from my side. So you see what we heard, the Open Industry 4.0 Alliance is an implementation alliance. So we have an example with us, the Sustainability Factory in Netherlands, Duurzaamheidsfabriek. So before we come to the Duurzaamheidsfabriek, where we really show you what exactly we implemented with existing standards and how the Alliance brings the value into the factory. So before doing that, I would like quickly to tell you what the Alliance is about. So 3 years ago, exactly here in Hanover, the Alliance started with less than 10 companies. So those 10 companies had an idea. The idea was, how can we bring the Industry 4.0 solutions in the factories to life? Because we talk since 10 years about Industry 4.0, but not too many cases have been seen implemented in that time. So when we started, as I said, less than 10 companies. Our booth here next to us, you can see, meanwhile, we are almost 100 companies. Small companies, big companies, system integrators, software providers, OEMs, so a very diverse group of an implementation alliance. So, and this example will be also relevant when we talk about our example. So, before we continue, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ekrem Yigitdoel. I'm the Managing Director of the Open Industry 4.0 Alliance. I started 3 years back already as a volunteer, one of the volunteers from the Voigt group at that time. And meanwhile, we decided inside the Alliance with the board that we need to go big because nobody is taking care of scaling existing standards with real implementation projects. And that is why we are there. We want to show the how to implement all those standards, which are great, but that the standard comes to the factory until an operator can use it, there is a long way. And this way is bridged by the Alliance members and by us, and you will see how we do that. So, before moving forward, I would also like to introduce my colleague, Ricardo.
Yes, thank you very much. And also a great welcome from my side. I am the Technology Director from the Open Industry Alliance, and I am responsible, of course, of the technology working groups and furthermore the alignment with the industrial working groups led by Ekrem. So thank you very much, and let's start for the content side, and we are eager for your questions afterwards. What you see here, because we often get the question what you do and what's the difference between existing societies association and standard association, and so we want to provide you a funnel to make it easier to locate the Open Industry Alliance. And like you see here, we don't want to establish the standards, we don't want to change the standards, we want to use it because they exist in the market and we are driving the adoption. So from our side and our point of view, we are the missing link between the standards. The standard alone doesn't do anything, and we want to use the projects of our members and our customers for the implementation projects. That's what we are doing in the Open Industry Alliance.
So, as you see also on the implementation part, the implementation is done by our members. So the Open Industry 4.0 Alliance is a non-profit organization. So our members are part of our organization to do the real implementations, as Ricardo mentioned, in the work groups. So we have industry work groups where we deliver the solutions for the markets. So we have, for example, in the process industry, we have food and beverage, we have chemicals, oil and gas work group, we have from the discrete manufacturing, we have intralogistics, we have component supplier, machine manufacturing. So these are the markets we are serving. And the implementation is happening based on the needs of those markets together with the technical work groups. And our members are the ones who bring those solutions into the factory of the end customers. And coming to our project, I would like also to start. So, with our slogan. So talkers talk, we implement. So why do we say that? Because a lot of cases also in my career so far, when I have been working before the Alliance for the Voigt Group, we had the need to talk to so many people until it was clear what to implement, how to implement, which technology do we take, which people do we take, which standard do we take, which use case are we talking, do we talking the same language? So that was really difficult to bring the solutions also in our own factories to life. And what we do, this is just one example, we have several of those implementation projects. We take our use cases predefined and show them to the factories and ask the factories, where is your pain point? What do you need? And based on the predefined solutions, those solutions are implemented in the factories.
Yeah, and that's what you see here on the slide, because we got many members and also non-members implemented this project. And like you know, there's a brownfield approach out in the world. So we got many vendors using many different protocols, using many different standards. And that's why we say, okay, don't talk about the standards, just let implement the standards. And that's the example you see or saw behind us. And we are proud to announce that we are over 10 people, 10 companies who are participating to implement the project. And it's a real life approach. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. So in this particular case, in the sustainability factory in Netherlands, more than 10 companies out of our network, of our ecosystem, implemented the solutions. And out of these 10 companies, there were also companies who are not members of the Alliance. But this is not a problem, because our offerings, our standards are open. They can be consumed also by companies who just believe in what we do. And in these particular projects, there were also companies who have never talked to the Alliance, inside the Alliance, but they understand what the solution can bring as a value. You see also here currently our picture, our logo wall, which members are part of our implementation alliance. We are growing. The interesting part is that we have a very diverse setup. So we are really going from a sensor company, a software company, to a machine builder, or to a system integrator, because all those different skills inside the specific work groups bring the end-to-end solutions. And we are also not taking only care about the integration of the own factory, we are also taking care that the data and the information flow in a, let's say, multi-vendor or in a multi-company approach are achieved, because Industry 4.0 starts then really to get interesting if I can consume the data from my partners left and right.
Yes, and this versatile setup of members you may recognize is the base and enables us to create horizontal and vertical working groups. So we are divided in the technical stuff. Okay, you see our working group right here. But the more important part is that we get cross domains, which are tackled by industry and certain members of us, and this enables us to cover the whole ecosystem. And that's the most important fact, because the challenges from technical side of view doesn't depend on the domain you're working on, but we have to identify the connection points, and that's what we are doing in the Alliance, using the versatile setup of our members to enable a broad set of solution and real-time and real-world implementation. And that's the most important fact. And like you see here, there are also a frame set like data spaces everybody is talking about, or application manager and app store, and we want to frame our working groups with the result of additional working groups. So every layer you see here, horizontal, vertical, is a working group existing in the Open Industry Alliance. And like we said before, we got a funnel and want to use existing standards. This is a good approach how we are cooperating with the existing standards association. In this case, it's E-Class. But like we mentioned before, just using a standard doesn't make the world better. We have to implement it because we want to go the road to the end customer. That's the most important fact. And like you see here, we got several working groups from our members and non-members, and we want to drive the project, in this case using E-Class as a standard for catalog and product information details, integrated in our technical approach and components. We rely on the reference architecture, because in the end we want to make the end customer happy. Of course our members as well, but more important the end customers who benefits from the result. And we choose this example because in the end customer doesn't care which information model you use, which standard you use. He's just in his factory, his shop floor or whatever, and want to use a holistic approach and the easy approach, and doesn't care if you use E-Class, OPCOA or other stuff, because it's not important if you're working on a shop floor. And that's our approach. We got a relation with E-Class and stuff like this, and that's also an approach to show how we integrate it in real projects.
So this slide is just quickly to tell you, I have been working now more than 20 years in IT and OT management positions, and the most of the time we were really spending to try to figure out what to do, what do you need. So, and we believe, as we said, if an implementation alliance with predefined use cases and standards ready to use, really plug and play, that will bring very fast value and examples to the factories. So in order to be able to do that, for sure, you need to have something in place. So a technical backbone is our reference architecture. So, and this reference architecture is very often the starting point for companies to start bringing interoperable solutions depending on the business case into their architecture, and from there going the next steps for the digitization of their own factory.
Yes, and of course, don't try to dig in too deep in the reference architecture. You just came over afterwards and we explained the details, but the more important fact is that we got results. Results mean we got technical guidelines, we got white papers, and also some example, I would say, some implementation for each layer, which enable us to describe the approach to decouple the layers from each other and also the information model. And then we can go from the shop floor to the top floor, not only by talking, also by implementing, and therefore we provide guidelines, white papers, and also implemented code fragments, I would say, to support the approach in the real world and the real implementation.
So summarized, that again, the key deliverables of the work groups are described in these technical implementation guidelines. And member benefits from taking these guidelines, bring it into his digital solutions, digital offerings. The bigger value, but that is at the end also the value for you as a supplier, is if your end customer knows that the solutions you are bringing into his factory are scalable, they are interoperable, because in the brownfield you can't throw away what you have in your factory. You have to go step by step. That's why we picture it like that. Some companies start in the edge, some companies start with the security. Edge and security has to go hand in hand. Some companies have an architecture and say, hey, the digital twin, how can I get the digital twin? There we have then the guidelines and the implementations ready to use. So this is very important. And we see on the very right side, more and more topics are coming, let's say, from this digitalization also to be organized in the factory, but also with the existing legacy systems. So Ricardo mentioned data spaces. So we need to put the data at the right place in order to consume it for the right business case. Yeah. So we promised to show a little bit about this project. So you see this project in Netherlands exactly took this reference architecture, took the relevant guidelines. You see with these arrows down there which standards from the machines, from the assets, they can take from one level to the next level and bring value to the factory.
Yes, and like we described before, this is a good approach and a good example as well for seeing how we can decouple the layer from each other, because that's the most important part, that you don't lose the information of the information model. That's not our intention, but this approach demonstrates how we get multiple protocols, multiple vendors, and there's one goal in the end. Yes, and that's an approach how we show decouple information and also decouple the layer. That's the base of our reference architecture we rely on, and that's also a part of a goal, I would say, which enables us to create something like a plug-and-play mechanism. Yes, this is a base to reduce the dependencies, I would say. Yes, call it dependencies, and then we are able to create a plug-and-play, like you know from USB or stuff like this, to say you got different components, different protocols, different vendors, and you can choose it like from a kit. Yes, different bricks existing in this kit. You can add them easily, plug and play. Okay, that's the future. But you see here, there are approaches we are creating right now. So our kit is now not that big, I would say, but it's growing constantly by the products of our member, by the result of our working groups. And that's how we think we go for the future. Yes, because we don't want to have a vendor login. We know all the problems occur there, or the influence from outside we can't change. But the approach is to say, okay, to reach a plug-and-play industry 4.0, we have to talk to each other. We have to talk to the standard organizations. We have to talk to the members, of course, and more important, to the end customer of the members. But this is a holistic approach. Yeah, nobody can reach this alone, and this is why it's important to cooperate with other associations and other standardization councils or stuff like this, because that's the only way we can reach the plug-and-play approach we are all looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mentioned it at the very beginning. So these green shirts, we are the Open Industry 4.0 Alliance. Our booth is here next to us. So come visit us, see more projects, real projects, see which standards we are using, see which work groups we have, and be part of this unique, let's say, implementation alliance. This is the important message. We really implement. We don't talk, we implement.
Yes, and also a nice thing is, because we got many members and volunteers, we got also working group leads. In fact, there are 2 working group leads for each working group you saw before, and most of them are present at our booth. So we are right over there, and you get a chance to talk to different experts, to the working group leads. They can talk you more about the details about the specific working groups you may be interested in. And so I want to engage you and invite you to our booth if you are interested in more details, or more details for a concrete working group you are looking for.
So, and if you ask yourself, hey, I'm not in Germany, I'm in Netherlands, I'm in Denmark, I'm in Italy. The Alliance started 3 years back. We have started now also our so-called internationalization, our regional implementation hubs. So those existing standards are brought to those countries where real implementation projects in the factories are happening. So that is a great value for you as an operator of factory owner, or for you as a member, because your markets are in these countries which I mentioned. So come to us, talk to us, meet us.
Yes.
Thanks.
Last sentence, please.
Yeah.
Last but not least, yes. I want to engage you. We got a newsletter, we got support for the marketing department and stuff like this. And you can subscribe to the newsletter, visit our homepage or visit our LinkedIn profile to get more information, and of course to stay tuned for the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ekrem and Ricardo. Do you have more questions? Just raise your hand. We'll be with you with our microphone. And let's see if the online audience is fast enough to send me a question. If not, we've seen all sorts of alliances here on the stage in the recent days. Also, I think you mentioned it, at least they were on stage as well, the OPC Foundation. So do you sort of all work together, and also as a company, does it make sense to focus on one of these? Does it make sense to be a member of various foundations? How do you all relate to each other?
Yeah, thank you for this question. All our members are also part of other associations. Also, we have corporations for example, with IDTA for the digital twin, with the platform industry 4.0, with E-Class, we mentioned that we don't want to do it by our own. We really want to do it with the standardization organizations, and we as the missing link to the end customer is the implementation organization. And that is also why we are here in this hall. We see those organizations as our friends, because if they do a good job, everybody who knows technology, the implementation is getting much easier.
So it's not either or, it's just a
Together.
The question is, which question do you want to answer?
Exactly.
And then you partner with one of these alliances or organizations. Perfect. Any last questions? If not, thanks a lot to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.